For the past 72 videos, we've lived life on the optimistic side. Never once did we stop to think that errors might be occurring. We are programmers and we are great at what we do. Why would we think that we should ever worry about error handling? Oh, the user who uses our application? Well, who cares? They should know how to enter valid data when prompted. When we say that they should enter their age, clearly we mean that this should be a number, an integer, and not a string. If they don't know how to follow directions, that's on them. They might break the database, you say? Okay, that's more of a concern. As terrible as it is to say out loud, treat each user of your application like an absolute idiot. Don't say that to their face, but think it behind the scenes. I wouldn't even blame you if you chuckled to yourself as you allowed yourself to scream "idiot" inside of your head. And to be honest, you wouldn't be too far from the truth. People will find ways to break your application, intentionally or unintentionally, and it's up to you to guard it with all your might. As of PHP 7, errors are reported by throwing the error exception. What are the types of errors that we can encounter? Well, there's the arithmetic error, which is the error that's thrown during a failed mathematical operation. There's a division by zero error, which is a type of arithmetic error that occurs when you try to divide by zero. An assertion error is thrown when an assertion fails. Compile error is thrown for compilation errors. Parse error is a type of compile error that occurs while parsing PHP code. You'll see this error occur, for example, with the use of the eval function. The type error occurs when the data type is not correct in a few scenarios, such as the class property mismatch, when argument types do not match declared parameter types, or when the return type is different from the declaration. The argument count error is a type of type error. It occurs when a method has a predefined set of parameters, but too few arguments are passed to it. The value error is a tricky one. It occurs when the data type is correct, but the expected value is incorrect. For example, expecting positive integers but receiving a negative one. The unhandled match error occurs when there's no arm for the match expression, and the fiber error is thrown on invalid operations on a fiber function. Enough high-level error talk, let's dive into some code and start by not catching an error. We can create an error quickly in PHP to test and see what happens. I'm going to create this new file, 72errorsintro.php, under my 72 errors directory. And because I am running a Docker container, it does require that I initialize basically all the display errors and turn on all the error reporting. So now that I have my file running, all I want to do is type in echo 10 divided by 0, and let's see what we get. So once again, my Docker container is running. If I go to my browser, hit refresh, we get this uncaught division by zero error. So this is the division by zero error that we talked about earlier, and it's interesting that it says that it's uncaught. It says uncaught, well, because we didn't catch it. But how do we catch an error? Well, we can do that with the try catch block. A try catch block represents a way for you to test something out, and if it doesn't work, we can catch the error before it's displayed on the screen, and it doesn't provide the user with negative UX. So for example, we can say try some code, and then what we want to do is we want to catch. And what do we want to catch? Well, we want to catch some error, code error, which in this case doesn't exist. And so if your code failed, execute something here. So what could we try to pass inside of our try catch block? Well, we could try to execute our echo 10 divided by 0. So try to execute this. So according to our browser, we know that this is the instance that the division by zero error is likely to occur. We saw that if we tried out the code earlier, the echo 10 divided by 0, PHP returned that it was an uncaught error. A division by 0 is just a data type that we're going to enter here. And it's a data type that was created by PHP developers, so think of it as a string or an int data type. If you followed along with this course, you'll remember that you can declare the data type of the parameter. You can see the data type declaration going on right there. So let's catch our division by zero error, and we will catch it inside of our catch block. In this case, we can save it, we can run it, and there's nothing here. It means it caught it, but we didn't specify what we should do here. So where does our error exist? Well, it exists inside of this argument, or this variable, the error variable. And we can handle this error gracefully, by sending an email stating that there was an error that occurred, or maybe even logging into our log file. Or we could just echo something out, more user-friendly, like, "Dear idiot user, you cannot divide by 0. And so now we refresh, we get our "Dear idiot user, you cannot divide by 0. But if you're curious to see what the error object actually holds, what we can do is just var dump our error. Refresh, and we can see that it is an object. It contains a message and a few other things like the file location that it occurred, the line that it occurred on. So it says 7, which that is correct. And for example, even our debug message that we saw earlier. But the question arises, why would we want to test such a thing? Well, we know that 10 divided by 0 will always throw the division by 0 error. So why even bother? Well, because of user input. We may get the input from the user and have something, like this instead. So we might say post user number, where the user actually entered something in a form, it sent it to the post variable, and then the code tried to divide it. And in this instance, if they entered 0, that would be throwing an error. We can also chain catch statements. Why would we want to chain it? Well, imagine if they entered something other than a number. What if the user enters a letter? For example, like that. We get a new type of error. It's called type error. How do we catch it? Well, we've already caught our division by 0 error, but where do we place our type error? Well, you'll just chain onto it. And what I mean by that is you'll literally just say another catch block, type error. I'm also going to call this error, and we're going to just echo out another friendly message. So, "Dear idiot user, you must use a number." We also should use a more generic catch. So could there be other errors that arise that we're just not predicting for? Well, of course, if we want to make sure that all of our errors are handled, at the end of each try, catch, as many statements as you'd like, you'll need to add a more generic catch statement that catches anything that might have been missed. Just like you can catch a division by 0 error with both the division by 0 error and the arithmetic error handlers. Since division by 0 is of type arithmetic error, you can catch any error with the error handler. So everything that we looked at previously, like type error, is of type error. So we can say catch any other error. And we'll say, "Dear idiot user, I have no idea how you got here, but I caught it." Aside from all the catches, there is one additional statement that we frequently chain on, and that's called the finally statement. So a use case for this would be that you want a piece of code to execute regardless of whether the try block contains valid code or catch blocks catch an error. So if we want something to always execute, we put that in the finally block. So we could say something like, "Dear idiot user, to stay consistent, the code here always executes." So now, what do you think happens if we run this code? It says, "Dear idiot user, you cannot divide by 0, and then it says, "Dear idiot user, the code here always executes." If we change this to something more normal, we get 5, followed by "Dear idiot user, the code here always executes." So I think we've gone as deep into errors as I'd like to go in this video. They're pretty straightforward. I've seen developers struggle with the try-catch concept for some reason. Just think of it like an if-else statement where if equals try and else equals catch. If you have multiple conditions, you start introducing the if-else statement. Similar concept with try, catch.